Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Akakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and elders of GMS who rule well. Uh, Peace and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. The title of this video is it's a re-upload, basically a comment, just going to what this brother, the older brother here, GMS South Carolina 08, showed in the beginning of his clip regarding, where I'm about to basically Esau, Second Ezra chapter 6, right, verse 9. And I'm going to it. So that's how my video says Esau's in the world. And it's interesting because I was kind of doing my own thing, like trying to just go over some stuff about Esau Edom. And then I look at all these videos, that's coming up right now, and it is going to Esau Edom too. So I just decided to go into it, and whatever I was going over, I'll just bring out. But basically, Second Esdras chapter 6, right? And going here to verse 9. And I'll start at 7 actually. It says verse 7, Second Ezra chapter 6, verse 7 says, Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? It says, And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first of the hill of Esau, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Right. So the first thing is Esau has to be here, right? For the end of the and this world here is going to age. Right. You have different ages, different time periods in history, right? Different kingdoms and rulerships, right? As you're going to get in Daniel the second chapter here, right? It says so basically Esau has to be here for the end, for him to be the end of the age, and then us being the beginning of it that follow. So I'm gonna play this video and see what they're talking about, and I'm gonna go into the precepts I got wrote down here. So subscribe and be edified to the video.
Bro, trust me. That's the only way I know how to talk. Anyway, let me bring it out. So throughout the text, then, because Esau is Jacob's enemy and his arch enemy, oftentimes when the prophets will refer to Edom, they're using that term in general to refer to the enemy nations. And so when it says Jacob is the end of the world, in that, hold on, I'm almost done. In that context, my brother, Edom is used in relation to all the enemy nations. But you have to understand, see, you need more than King James to understand this. You actually can.
All right, so he said in this right here, Second Ezra chapter 6, verse 9, it says when it says Esau is the end of the world, he's saying that it represents all the enemies. And when I was listening to that, the first thing I thought about was Psalm 83 and how the enemies are separated. So I'll go ahead and read that. Psalms 83 and 1, it says a song or a psalm of Asaph, right? Asaph, keep not thou silence, O Yahweh, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Yahweh, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come and let us cut them off from many a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent, they are confederate against thee. And it lists the enemies here, right? And so it says the tabernacles of Edom, right, and the Ishmaelites, Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gabel, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, What inhabitants of Tyre, Ashur also joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot, Selah. Okay, so it lists our enemies here, and there's a separation, between them basically. Right, and as you can see, Edom is listed twice here, Amalek, right, and Edom. This is both Edomites. Right, this is just a different, tribe or house of Edom. All right, and they're in separation. So that's what I thought about when he said that. Let's play it again.
Jacob's enemies. Bro, trust me. That's the only way I know how to talk. We can really get on your. No, we really do nothing, bro. Anyway, let me bring it out. So throughout the text, then, because Esau is Jacob's enemy and his arch enemy, oftentimes when the prophets will refer to Edom, they're using that term in general to refer to the enemy nations. And so when it says Jacob is the end of the world, in that, hold on, I'm almost done. In that context, my brother, Edom is used in relation to all the enemy nations. But you have to understand, see, you need more than King James to understand this. You actually kind of got to study historical context and Hebraic culture. Anybody take a Hebraic culture class? Anybody ever took a Hebraic?
Yeah, so he's trying to be deep. It ain't really that too. It ain't deep. It's saying what it's saying. Esau and the Lord, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followed. Right, in the last days, Esau, Edom would be in power. Right, basically the revised Roman Empire. What I want to get real quick, Genesis 27. All right. I'll just get it from 39. Okay. Let's get it from 38. Genesis 27 and 38. It says, and Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice. So now this is Esau and Jacob here getting their blessings. Right? Jacob got a blessing, and Esau got a blessing. If you want to look at Jacob's blessing, that's why we're the beginning of it that followed, because we're going to rule in the kingdom, which is going to be an everlasting kingdom, like that's going to be in Daniel chapter 2, after the kingdom of the wicked, right? Esau, Edom. Genesis 27 and 36. It says, and he said, hold on. Right. So I think I'll just read it. No. So anyway, Genesis 27:37, it says, and Isaac answered and said unto Esau, behold, I have made him thy Lord, right? And all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do unto thee, my son? Right. So we're already above the Edomites, right? We're above Esau. We're above all the nations. All right. So, that's our blessing, basically. So Esau comes in, it says Genesis 27 and 38. And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou hast the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So Esau, Edom would live by the sword and have the fatness of the earth. And the Edomites today are the white people. All right. And they're the self-proclaimed white people, right? They call themselves white, they call us black, whatever the case may be. So that's just the best way to describe it, so you can know. Those are the Edomites, right? All of them, the woman, right? The man, the child, all of them, they're all Edomites. And they have the fatness of the earth, right? And the chief of that is the Amalekites, right? The Rothschilds, right? The small toppers, right? Those are the Israelis, right? They're the house of Amalek, all right, and they have the seat of power, right? The banking elites are Amalek too, but they're Edomites, okay, and they control and run the world. And they have the fatness of the earth, and they use their sword, and that sword, their hub is America, okay. And so that's how they were able to live by their sword. That's why America was the one that dropped the first atomic bombs, right? They didn't want to have military bases all around the world. You can't say that about no one else, right? Who's projecting power around the world and things like that. That's America, right? The Edomites. It says, and it shall come to pass when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So now I want to probably let me finish reading this real quick. Genesis 27:41, it says, and Esau hated Jacob because the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand, then I will slay my brother Jacob. Now that's important because even to this day, Esau is trying to slay his brother Jacob because we are brothers, Jacob and Esau, right? Jacob are the Israelites, the melanated people. Well, everyone has a little bit of that in them, but the darker races, us, who they call African Americans, right? Which we're really, the Israelites, Native Indian, Hispanic, Negroes. That's us. We're the Israelites, and Esau to this day is trying to kill us off. So let me go to Daniel. So now going to second Ezra regarding Esau being the end of the world and Jacob being the beginning of it that followed. All right. So and going okay. So going back, Slaki, I'm just trying to think about a lot and bring it out. But going back to what I just had in Genesis, right, 27, where it talked about when thou shalt have the dominion, he shall break the yoke off his neck. You would go to over here regarding the Roman Empire, because that's the Romans basically. This is the fourth beast still, right? You get 20. All right. Because Esau, Edom, the Romans, they had a deadly wound, right? Let me see. Okay. So the deadly wound was the Roman Empire, but it got healed and it came back as what we know now today as America. But it's still the fourth beast, which is Rome. All right. So I'm gonna read this real quick. Revelations 13:1. It says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear. Right. So now this leopard is going to the Greeks. All right. Because basically it started Esau Edom power structure started with the Greeks. All right. It says, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, representing the end of a thing. And this is going to be Russia. Russia is going to be the end of America. Okay. It says, in his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Okay, so the dragon, which gave him his power, is Roman Empire. And once again, this is going into the beast, which is America now in its system. Okay. It says, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. All right, so once again, the deadly wound was the downfall of the Roman Empire, right? And from that period, it was the Byzantine Empire, right? But Esau calls it the Dark Ages. He doesn't want you to know what happened during that time, but during that time, we ruled, right? The Israelites ruled during the Byzantine Empire time, the Dark Ages. But then the Renaissance came, and that's when his deadly wound was healed, right? He came back. Renaissance means rebirth, so he came back into power. right? And he broke the yoke off of his neck, going back to Genesis 27 that I was reading earlier, right? And he had dominion, he was ruling, and he's still ruling now, right? So, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to where I was at, to 20, to better explain it a little bit. So Revelations 20, this is when he had that deadly wound. Revelation 21, it says, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. Bottomless pit is talking about Europe. It says, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, right, which is the Roman Empire, and he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed every season. So this devil during the Byzantine Empire, he had a deadly wound, right? He was shut up, underfoot, under subjection, yoked up basically by Jacob, right? And then it says he's gonna be loose for a little season, and that's the season that we're in now. But we're at the end of that season also too now, right? So then you jump down to verse 7. It says Revelation 27 says, and when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, Satan his adversary, right? And when 1,000 years are expired, Satan, which is an enemy, adversary, he's against Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, right? It says, and when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison and shall go out to deceive the nations, right, which are in the four corners of the earth. So he went out and deceived the nations more. He lied about who he is, messed up the land borders and things like that, took people's lands, put fake false images out there of who God and Jesus looks, how that fake God and Jesus and stuff like that, right? Told people that he's so perfect and good and all of that, when really he's the wicked of the earth, all right? It said, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, which is Russia, to gather them together to battle, the member of whom is as the son of the sea. So this is going to now World War III. All right. So, and we're in World War III now, and it's just going to continue to escalate until it reaches the point of a nuclear destruction of America and Israel. All right. So there's no, peace deals coming up or anything like that. And if they do peace, what follows after the peace deal is sudden destruction, meaning it won't be a peace where everything's just going to be peaceful. Okay. As Second Thessalonians tells us, when they shall say, what the First Thessalonians 5:3, it's like it. Grab it real quick. It says, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them, as to fell upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. So there's no escaping what's happening, because all this is Bible prophecy. So, it's going to happen, and this is a part of Esau being the end of the world, right? The end of his age. All right, if you look around, everything is being destroyed. Okay. It says in verse 9, Revelation 29, it says, and they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about in the beloved city, and fire came down from Yahweh Bashim Yahushua out of heaven and devoured them. So ultimately, even now, Esau, Edom, the wicked, is trying to compass the camp of the saints, right? And the Israelites, Jacob, is those saints, right? And he still has that perpetual hatred, right, towards us, where he's trying to kill us. So this is Psalms 148 and 13. It says, let them praise the name of the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, for his name alone is excellent. His glory is above the earth and heaven. He also exalted the horn of his people, right? The praise of all his saints, even of the children of Israel. The people near unto him praise the Lord Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, right? Jacob had 12 sons, right, which are the Israelites, right? Israel, and we're his saints. And Esau, even to this day, is trying to get rid of us. That's why even recently in the news, with this whole Iran thing came, something resurfaced where, America was trying to, overthrow Iran, wherever the case may be, and they captured like some, American soldiers or whatnot. And then it was like a group of, Jakes, and they said, "Wait, don't y'all be getting oppressed by, America over there and all of that?" And they was like, "Yeah, hell yeah, we do all the time, actually." And then Iran let them go, So I forgot where I was going with that point, but that is that point there. Oh well, Esau is trying to hurt us, basically. So but ultimately, the Most High is about to do damage. All right, the Most High Yahweh is about to throw down. All right, there's affliction shall not rise up the second time. Basically, Esau's not going to be able to put us back into slavery and all of that. It says in the devil, right, the deceiver, right, and the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, which is going into the nuclear destruction now in these last days. It says where the beast and the false prophet are and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. Now it won't be day and night, but I mean it won't be forever and ever. It'll burn for a period of time, and then I'm talking about America, of course, and then after that the fire will die down, right? So the beast going into America, right? His whole system and all of that. False prophet going into the Roman Catholic Church and the things that he pushed for, right? It's all gonna be burnt up. All right. So going back to this Daniel, because you have the last kingdom, and then what follows after that is divine kingdom, and we're living in the Roman Empire right now, but it's just the revised Roman Empire. It's the belly wound being healed. All right, Daniel 2:40 says to Rome. Now this goes into the different kingdoms that are supposed to rule on earth, right? And then you have Rome, Daniel 2:40 says, "In the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron. In the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided." Right? And you see that their whole system. You got people divided in the White House, because you got people that's for Israel, people that's not for Israel. Right? Because pursuant to Jeremiah 50 and 45, at least the flock drawing them out. People not with the Israel trying to run America, not knowing that's exactly who runs America. But they got deceived, into believing the lie that America was free, basically. But anyway, they're divided. The NATO, EU divided. The whole kingdom is divided. It says, "And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it the strength of the iron." Right, going to the military power. "For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay." So so they're partly strong and partly broken, and even now in these last days, they're just being completely broken. Not accomplishing nothing, not getting the job done, pretty much, because they're coming to their end. Okay, it says, "And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the feet of men. They shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay." Right. So again, they're just divided. You see this in the NLT. It says this mixture of iron and clay also shows that these kingdoms will try to strengthen themselves by forming alliances with each other through intermarriage. The funniest one I can think of is when J.D. Vance, they had this J.D. Vance guy with his wife, he was an Indian, and they had a meeting with India, the president of India, right? And they make J.D. Vance do it, with his wife and kids. But India didn't really, we see where India is at now, right now, trying to deal with basically Russia. To be honest, India, been like what is it, a Turkey. I've been seeing them wishy-washy. They flip-flop, go to Israel, go to America, go to Russia. They just had a problem where they was dealing with Russia, and then they made a deal with America and Israel, and they stopped getting the oil from Russia. But then this whole situation with the Strait happened, and Russia went back. I mean, India went back to Russia, and Russia was like, well, before We was friends and I gave you a discount, but now this is business. Now they waxing them, taxing them, they're taxing them, for the oil that Russia got. But anyway, it says this mixture of iron and clay also shows that these kingdoms will try to strengthen themselves by forming alliances with each other through intermarriage, but they will not hold together just as iron and clay do not mix. So they're divided, right? And it's not strong. Let me grab this scripture right here. One of the precepts I wrote down. It says, this is Second Ezra chapter 11, verse 39. It says, art not thou it that remaineth of the poor beast, whom I made to reign in my world, at the end of their times might come through them. See, so there's only four beasts, and the last one is the Roman Empire. So what we're doing right now is the Roman Empire, which are Edomites, by the way, and that's all in their history. Herod the Great, the Idumean, Herod the Great Idumean, right? Antipater, right? The Idumean, who was the father of Herod the Great, right? All of this stuff is in their history, and these people are, Edomites, right? So, yeah. So the Romans are Edomites, the Greeks were Edomites, and they are still the Edomites. They just came back, and so through the Spirit, we understand and know this. All right, and they're the fourth beast, the Roman Empire. Just now, the revised Roman Empire. So, Second Ezra chapter 11, verse 39, it says, "Art not thou it that remaineth of the four beasts, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them?" Right, and the fourth beast came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fruitfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression, and so long time dwelt he upon the earth with the sea. All right, and that's America. It says, "For the earth hast thou not judged with truth, for thou hast afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable, thou hast loved liars, and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit, and hast cast down the walls of such as did thee no harm." So this is the true wicked of the earth, right? Everyone around the world should know who that is. The great Satan. They call him the great Satan. America. All right. It says, "Therefore is thy wrongful dealing come up unto the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty. The highest also have looked upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled. And therefore appear no more thou evil, nor thy terrible wings, nor thy wicked judges, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body." Just going into different rulers over time and things like that, kind of going into like a deep prophecy, breakdown or whatever. It says that all the earth may be refreshed and may return, being delivered from thy violence, and that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her. Yeah, so the whole earth is, upset about this devil ruling and being empowered and empowered. The Isaiah, what is it? I think it's 14. All right, so I'm gonna go back to Daniel 2, going into basically Jacob being the beginning of it that followed. But this is Isaiah 14, and I start at 4. It says that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon. See, right? Babylon is America, right? And this is their seat, right? Their sword, right? Of the fourth beast. This is their sword. It says, "And say, how have the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased? The Lord Yahweh Bashmau shall have broken the staff of the wicked, and the scepter of the rulers." Was not the fourth beast ruling in the end, which is the Edomites, right? The revised Roman Empire. Says he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke. He that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted and none hindered. See, so who's doing this? Who's blessed with the sword, and living by the sword with their blessing? Esau, Edom, the wicked. Says the whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth to singing. Yeah, the fir trees rejoiced at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, since thou art laid down, no further has come up against us. All right. So this is talking about America. Once America is destroyed, things gonna get better because that'll be the end of their kingdom, their rulership. They won't have no might no more, right? And at the same time, Yahweh Shai pulls up and sets up the divine kingdom, right? It says Daniel 2:44. So the fourth beast is Rome, and then the divine kingdom, Daniel 2:44 says, and in the days of these kings shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. I just gave you Second Ezra, 11 and 39, where it said that this kingdom consumed all the other beasts, right? Second Ezra 11 and 40, it says, and the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great influence. See, so and now Yahweh Shai is going to come set up a kingdom, right, through the power of Yahweh, right, and it's going to consume all the other kingdoms. Daniel 2:44. It says, and in the days of these kings shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great power Yahweh Shai have made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. So it's going to happen. It's going to go down. Esau at the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. So I'm going to see. I got some more precepts. So I'll see what I got wrote down. 2 Ezra 6. It says, for Esau is the end of the world, right? And Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. So after his rulership, he's in power right now. That's what you need to know. He's about to lose power. That's why people's talking about who's next. Who's next? And I just gave you in the scripture who's next. We're next. To rule. And that'll be it. We're going to rule forever. Yeah. So let me see something. Ezekiel 36. Ezekiel 36 and 1, it says, also, thou son of man, prophesy unto the mountains of Israel, and say, you mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shai. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shai, because the enemy have said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession. And I believe I heard Elder Pastor Tahar just saying, because even America, because the northern kingdom was oppressed by the Assyrians, right? And they fled to America, which, in Babylon, they fled to America. And then during the rebirth, the Renaissance, Cristobal Colon came to the Americas, and basically he took over that, right? But also, who are Edomites, by the way, and also you have Israel, like our actual home, right? Where Jerusalem is at. And you have the Edomites there now, the Amalekites. All right. So that they took all our stuff. Thus said the Lord Yahweh Bashem Shai, because the enemy have said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession. So right now the enemy, which you do have other nations scattered over there in our land in Israel, but who owns it is these Edomites. And that's just one of the enemies. So going back to what bro this dude was talking about it represents all enemies. The only enemy that has our land right now is the Edomites. Let's hear that again.
Bro, trust me. That's the only way I know how to talk.
We can really get on your.
No, we really do nothing, bro. Anyway, let me bring it out. So throughout the text, then, because Esau is Jacob's enemy and his arch enemy, oftentimes when the prophets will refer to Edom, they're using that term in general to refer to the enemy nations. And so when it says Jacob is the end of the world, in that, hold on, I'm almost done. in that context, my brother, Edom is used in relation to all the enemy nations.
And it don't even say Edom, in the scripture, or however he's trying to, say it. But let me go back over here. So this enemy here, Ezekiel 36:2, thus said the Lord Yahweh Bashmi, because the enemy have said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession, right? Therefore prophesy and say, thus said the Lord Yahweh Bashmi, because they have made you desolate and swallow you up on every side, that ye may be a possession unto the residue of the heathen that are, and ye are taken up in the lips of talkers, and are an infamy of the people. Therefore, ye mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord Yahweh Bashmi. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashmi, to the mountains, and to the hills, to the rivers, and to the valleys, to the desolate wastes, and to the cities that are forsaken, which became a prey and derision to the residue of the heathen that are round about. Yeah, they seen that one dude they got circling, and the news looking like a fucking hyena, the Israelis. Says, therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashmi, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea. All right, Edom. All right, this Esau. Let me look it up real quick. I mean, it is Esau. Edom. Edom. Descendants of Esau. Okay. Which have appointed my land into their possession. So Edom has appointed the Most High Yahweh Bashmi land, right? Our land, into their possession with the joy of all their heart, with the spiteful minds to cast out for prey. All right. So Esau Edom will be in our land, and they took our land. Right? They took all our land. And also, I want to grab Obadiah 1, because Esau would need to be alive too for this future prophecy here to come to pass. Right? Even you get, Edom will be humbled. Right. So this is a future prophecy regarding the actual Edomites that are alive today. It says, I'll get it from 10, Obadiah 1 and 10. It says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. That hasn't happened yet. It says, in the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captives his horses, and foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem. So once again, that's ours. Jerusalem is ours. It belongs to the Israelites, of course, right? Not Edomites. It says, even thou was one of them, but thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger. Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yeah, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. All right, so Esau got a lot of crimes to pay for it. But Obadiah 1:18 says, I get it from 6:15. It says, for the day of the Lord Yahweh Bashmi is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. For as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yet they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. And the house of Jacob shall be, and that's going into what? That divine kingdom. right? That's the everlasting kingdom. In the house of Jacob shall be a fire, in the house of Joseph a flame, in the house of Esau for stubble. And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord Yahweh Bashma shall have spoken it. Right. So this is actually part of the fourth beast, right? Who at this present time the Edomites rule the wicked, right? Job 9:24 says the earth was given into the hand of the wicked. All right. So ultimately that's pretty much all I got. Lord willing, you're edified from the lesson. Shalom to the hopeful elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.